How to stay positive when everyone else around you is negative. I picked this topic today because I know as the holidays approach, symptoms of things like depression, anxiety, they can get worse. Sometimes we feel more lonely, where it's more obvious if there's things that we're missing in our lives, maybe family or jobs or money or all that stuff for some reason can get highlighted around the holidays. And so I wanted to do this episode, and this is just going to be me talking about this because it's something that I've really been working on with myself, and it's something that's been making a big difference for me. So let's talk a little bit about why it's important and what benefit do you get by staying positive. And a lot of people, when I say, let's stay positive, they look at me like I'm this like Pollyanna or Stuart Smalley. Positivity has gotten kind of a bad rap, and I don't know why. I don't know if people think it's dorky or think that you're denying reality or whatever. But the bottom line is when you stay positive, and when I say positive, what I'm really talking about is what's happening in your head. What sorts of thoughts are you entertaining? When you are entertaining a lot of negative thoughts, when you complain a lot, when you point out the most negative things in your life and you focus on them, your experience in life is going to be more negative. You create your own reality. And I'm not making this up. This is proven. This has been proven in science. This is proven in spirituality, because you can't prove something in spirituality. But this is something that people in all different religions talk about, is that you are the one creating your own experience. The way that you see the world is how you are going to experience life. And your particular set of circumstances, how you were raised, what you think about, how you feel regularly, what's happened in your life, all of that creates the lens that you look at life through. So when we're talking about your thoughts, what I'm talking about is what you entertain. So if you think of a guest coming over to your house, like imagine someone shows up at your house that you don't really like and they knock on your door and you let them in. And you don't love them, but they're here and you feel guilty not entertaining them. So you make some cheese and crackers and you put out some wine and you guys hang out for a little while. And, after a while, you kind of want this person to leave. What would you do to make it clear to that person that you're ready for them to leave? You'd stop serving them food, stop serving them alcohol. You'd stop really, entertaining them. And they'd eventually leave. Well, if you kept entertaining them, you kept putting out more wine, you made them dinner, they're more likely to stay longer. So if you think about your thoughts this way, when negative thoughts come in, you're washing the dishes and all of a sudden you start thinking about something bad that might happen to your kid, or someone who yelled at you a week ago, or a fight you had with your spouse a year ago. Whatever it is, if you start thinking about these thoughts and thoughts that come into your head, we don't have control over those. Like, if I told you right now, don't think of a purple elephant, you probably thought of a purple elephant. It's hard to stop those thoughts coming into your mind, but what you can do is not entertain them. So don't serve them wine and cheese. Don't hang out with them. Don't sit there and entertain these negative thoughts. When they come in, a thought about something bad happening, something that happened a while ago, don't follow the thought train. Don't keep thinking about it. You can shift. You can say, I'm not going to think about that right now, and you can change to something else. You have that power. You have so much more power than you know you have over how you experience the world. And negative thoughts cause negative emotions. When you have a lot of negative thoughts, you'll notice that the more you think about something bad, the more upset and nervous and anxious you might feel. So emotions are caused by things that happen in life, but they're also caused by things you think about. So the more you entertain negative thoughts, the more you continue to follow and jump on these thought trains and go with them, the more negative emotions you might have. So the more reality that you might create that doesn't make you happy, makes you feel depressed and anxious and nervous and worried and overwhelmed and all that stuff that we don't like, the stuff that makes us not enjoy our lives. So if you stay positive, you're going to have a more positive experience. If you take the wheel on what's happening in your brain and you start to steer it a little more. And like I said, it's not like the super easiest thing. It's not like you take the wheel and boom, you're going to turn it and things are going to turn like a regular car. Changing your thought patterns might feel more like a fast-moving train that you have to really slow down and then slowly turn. But that's okay because you do have more power. And when you start to take control of what's happening in your brain and you start to stop and say, you know what, I'm not going to follow that thought. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm not going to feel guilty about that. I'm not going to be mad at myself for that. I'm just not. It's okay. My goal is to enjoy my experience of life more. And if that's my goal, then what I didn't do yesterday, what I didn't do a week ago, what I failed at a month ago, doesn't matter because my goal is to enjoy life. It's not to do everything right, not to do everything perfectly. That's why I think this is important. So let's talk about steps to staying positive, especially when the people around you don't get it. And when the holidays approach, we have family that shows up and family complains sometimes, and sometimes your friends complain, your husband complains. And so how do you stay positive and feel happy and feel good when people around you don't? Well, let's talk about a step-by-step process that I've been working on and been using that's been really helping me. The first step is what I call building your own cheering squad in your head. So if you think of a cheerleading squad, I want you to build your own in your head. So that starts with a couple of things you can say to yourself that are going to motivate you, that are going to lift you up. I want you to think of those things. Think of at least 3 statements you can say to yourself that are going to make you feel better, make you feel positive, motivated, happier, and generally enjoy life more. Mine are, I can do this. I'm doing a good job. And I'm okay. And I say that to my daughter a lot, like, you're okay, you're okay. And I say it the same way to myself. Like if I find myself freaking out about something, you know what? I'm okay. You're okay. So I take the same attitude toward myself that I take when my daughter's scared about something or when she falls and hurts herself. You're okay. You're okay. Okay, second, I want you to remind yourself when you notice yourself being negative or that people around you are negative and complaining, just remind yourself that motivating yourself with negativity doesn't work. And what I mean by that is beating yourself up to get yourself to succeed, to do more, to do things right or better doesn't work. It just makes you more depressed, more anxious. It's bad. It doesn't work. And I've studied this concept for many years because I have been one of the hardest people on myself that I know. And I used to coach a lot of people around the bar exam because I used to run a program you still run it, a program that helps bar exam students deal with anxiety because I used to practice law. And so I help bar exam students prepare for the bar mentally. And I have coached a lot of people around being hard on yourself. And let me tell you, it doesn't work. It just makes things worse. So if you find yourself doing it, just remind yourself, you know what? This is not the right road. I'm on the wrong road. If where I want to go is feeling better, feeling happier, I'm going the wrong way. So remind yourself of that. Beating myself up doesn't make me more productive or happier or better or a better mom or whatever. Remind yourself of that. Third, I want you to figure out what it is you want. And that is kind of a global statement, but whatever situation it is that you find yourself being negative about, a lot of us don't have a clear picture about what we would want. So if you find yourself being negative about what's going to happen next week in the holidays, Aunt Edna's coming and she's always gets drunk and I'm sure that my dad's going to say this and I'm going to feel bad. And, what do you want to happen? What would be your ideal week? Monday I'd wake up and I'd make cookies and my daughter would be happy and then my mom would come and we would do this. And it sounds a little Pollyanna, but try to picture it. Like what would be a good outcome? And a lot of us, we haven't ever asked ourselves that question. And it's an interesting inquiry. Or if it's something like, I would like to eat less sugar next week as the holidays approach or I would like to drink less. Picture yourself drinking less. Picture yourself not eating as much sugar. I want to exercise. Picture yourself exercising. Whatever it is you want, I want you to figure out what the outcome is, what's your ideal outcome, and I want you to picture it. And when I say picture, I want you to actually have pictures in your head. Because there are thoughts, there are things we say to ourselves, and then there are pictures we have in our minds. And pictures are really powerful. So really picture what you want. Now, third, move. Our bodies create so much of our reality. How you stand, how you breathe, all of that helps create a positive or a negative reality. If you're humped over, if you're breathing shallowly, if you're tight and tense, going to create more negative thoughts, going to create more negative emotions, going to be harder to stay positive. If you notice, people that are the most negative tend to be more humped over, more slouched. They tend to, bring their necks down, and they're kind of like, when they talk, they have a little bit more of a edge on their voice. So if you want to stay positive, stand up a little taller, breathe a little deeper, picture yourself being a little more confident, move. If you're feeling down, put on some happy music and dance. The more you move, the more your body is going to really create this happier you. And that it's true. It sounds simple, but it's so true. And lastly, negative people. Don't fall into a complaining trap. What I mean is there are certain people in all of our lives that really get into complaining. I call them bad news Betties. And these are people that whenever you're around them, you feel like you need to complain in order to bond with them because they're complaining about this and that and this in their lives. It's negative. And if you say something positive, it feels weird. It's like they look at you like you're crazy and you feel like, well, to connect with this person, I'm going to have to complain about something in my life. So you find yourself complaining just to like have something to talk about with them. Don't fall into that trap. You can shift them, maybe just listen and, I'm sorry, that's happening for you, and try to shift the subject. Just don't fall into that complaining trap. Don't let them pull you down. And if you stay positive around them, I'm not saying that you bombard them with, happiness, but just don't fall into the complaining trap. It's just don't complain. That's what I'm saying. One thing that I had an energy worker one time, I asked him, I said, I tend to take on other people's stuff. Like when I'm around someone who's sad, I get sad. When I'm around someone who's negative, I feel tense and negative. Like, how do I not have that happen energetically? And he said to picture a bubble around yourself. Like literally imagine that, in The Wizard of Oz, when the good witch, the pink, good witch floats in on the giant bubble. I like to imagine that, like I'm this, princess in this big bubble. So when you go into the holidays, just picture your bubble and you can't get to me. You can be negative if you want, but you know what? I don't have to accept your reality. I have my own. Because remember, we all create our own realities. You don't have to share theirs. You have your own. And I also say sometimes when someone wants to drag me into their problem and I get caught up in their problems, I'll remind myself, you know what? I got enough of my own stuff to worry about. I got enough of my own problems. I don't need yours. So another thing you can do is to separate your problem from my problem. That is your problem, not mine. So I can help you deal with it. I can help talk to you about it, but I'm not going to take it on. So those are the steps. That's 5 steps. Build your own cheering squad. Remind yourself that motivating yourself with negativity and beating yourself up does not work. Figure out your ideal situation and picture it. Move. And don't get trapped by bad news Betties. And one other tip for dealing with someone in your family or someone that is really upsetting and really triggering for you. I actually heard this from a friend of mine recently, and I thought it was so great, so I want to share it with you. This is also going to be my happiness exercise this week that I'll be sending out to my list. So if you're on my list, you'll be getting this twice. But so what she said is that when someone's triggering you, maybe say it's your dad is saying something really mean or saying something really, upsetting. She said just to imagine taking him by the neck and, kidding with someone and rubbing the top of their head and being like, oh, you're so cute. Giving someone a noogie. Oh, you're so cute with all of your narcissism and your extra critical thoughts and the really weird way you see the world and how mean you are sometimes. You're so cute. I just, something about that made me really laugh because it shows us that, everyone has their stuff. Everyone has their own version of reality. And if you can see someone's actions and the way someone relates with you as their thing, then you don't necessarily take it as personally. You don't take it as seriously. And so when someone, maybe it's someone in your family or a friend or your spouse that says something that might hurt you or might be really mean, if you want to shift the way you see them, try this. Just imagine like putting your arm around their neck and kind of rubbing their hair and going, oh, you're so cute with all your da-da-da-da-da, all the way that they, do things that really bother you or say things that are really triggering and angering. Just try to shift the way you see them with this exercise. Maybe this will help. That is my podcast today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this, I have a free gift for you that you might like. It is, I ask all my past podcast guests and some of my future ones that you haven't met yet for their number one tip on how to actually enjoy the holidays, and I've put it all together in one page of short snippets of advice. It's all free. If you want it, go to inspiringmama.com/holidays and you can get it. So thank you again for listening. Again, if you like this, please, sign up for that. When you get the free gift, you'll sign up for my list, and I'll every week share with you a new happiness exercise, something new that I'm working on. And you can also connect with me. I've been getting really into Instagram. It's super fun. Every day I put out like a new quote or something that I'm thinking about. And so find me on Instagram. I'm at The Inspiring Mama on Instagram. And if you find me, tag me and tell me you're a podcast listener. I would love to connect with you and follow you too. So thanks again. And until next week, this has been Lauren Fire saying you are doing a good job.